You want the whole provision. You don't just want today's. When you look at your food pantry, you don't want what's just what's sitting in there right now. You want the whole month's provision sitting in the pantry. You want every day of the month, not just today's. Not just today's. Seems simple, doesn't it? Just really does. It seems so simple. A whole month. Show it all to me. You want proof it's still coming before you're willing to rest even one night without checking. Before you're willing to stop scanning ahead for the next shortfall. 6 weeks into freedom. 6 weeks into freedom. With Egypt's meat pots still fresh in their memory. Israel wanted the exact same thing. And God said no. Deliberately no. Morning after morning for 40 straight years. Welcome. Shalom and welcome. True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn. As you might have guessed, I am Shawn. Day 72, Exodus 16, Exodus. 6 weeks after leaving Egypt, the food runs out. Good morning, everybody. I love looking up there and seeing everybody. By the way, if you didn't see the episode last night, I firmly and strongly encourage you. Go to the link there. The link will take you to truewordfaithforlife.com, where the blog post and study guide and all that is. But that link will take you straight to the episode. It's audio only, so you don't have to look at this. It's important. Very important. So, 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Can you imagine? Yeah, the food ran out. That's not a small thing. And God answers with something that shows up fresh every single morning. And it can't be stockpiled. Not for nothing, my book, True Word Faith for Life, is available now. Links are in the show description, blah, blah, blah. Get a copy. Get one for somebody who's exhausted from trying to secure the next month's everything before they've even trusted God for today. Today's question makes sense. Can you trust God for just one day? Ready? Here we go. Deep breath. The whole congregation grumbles against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness of sin. And this time it's not thirst. It's hunger. Have you ever been super, super hungry? I have. Grabs at you. Would that we had died by the hand of the Lord in Egypt, they say. When we sat by the meat pots and ate bread to the full, for you've brought us into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. God's answer isn't a rebuke. It's bread. I will rain bread from heaven for you, he tells Moses, and the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day, that I may test them whether they will walk in my law or not. The test isn't a moral dilemma or some dramatic commandment. It's logistics. Gather only what you need for today. On the sixth day, gather twice as much. That evening, quail cover the camp, and in the morning, when the dew lifts, there's a fine flake-like substance on the ground. And the people look at it and ask each other, Manu, what is it? That's what it means. Moses tells them it's the bread the Lord has given you to eat. The instructions are specific. Gather an omer per person, according to how many are in your tent. Some gather much, some gather little. But when they measure it, everyone has exactly enough. No more, no less. Leave none of it until morning, Moses tells them. Some don't listen. And by morning, it's bred worms and gone rotten. But every sixth day, gather double, and that portion, kept overnight for the Sabbath, it doesn't rot at all. Doesn't gather worms. How about that? Tomorrow is a Sabbath, a holy rest to the Lord. Moses says, eat what you've kept, because today you won't find any in the field. On the seventh day, some go out anyway looking for it, and there's nothing there. How long will you refuse to keep my commandments? God asks Moses. And he reminds them the Sabbath was already his gift before anyone had to earn it. It's called manna. It's white. It tastes like wafers made with honey. And God gives one final instruction. Keep an omer of it in a jar, permanently, before the testimony, so future generations who never gathered a single portion themselves could see the bread God used to feed a whole nation in the wilderness. Israel ate manna 40 years until they reached the border of a land that could finally grow its own bread. There's a lot of theology here. 4 things in this chapter carry weight worth slowing down for. First, the provision is deliberately daily. Not stockpiled. You don't stockpile it. God could have dropped 40 years worth of bread at once and let Israel manage their own supply. He didn't. Every single morning, it required a fresh trip outside. Go outside your tent. It required a fresh trust that it would actually be there. Second, the test was built directly into the logistics. Whether they will walk in my law or not wasn't measured by some dramatic act of obedience or rebellion. It was measured by whether the people could resist gathering more than they needed, and whether they could rest on the day God told them to rest. Third, Sabbath rest was provided before it was ever commanded to be enjoyed. Stop in the name of God. Charlie Kirk's book. I have it. It's incredible. Keep some tissues. When you realize that guy finished that book right before he died, right before he was murdered. I can't encourage you enough to watch the episode. It's linked in the description and all of that. Thank you very much, Nicole. I really appreciate that. Very kind of you. Thank you to you all. I know it was out of sequence, not used to having a second episode in a day, and especially at nighttime. But there it is. The links are there, and I just encourage you. And if you want to see this face for whatever reason, click on the YouTube link. And if you're not a subscriber, I don't know what's holding you up. Subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. Subscribe, like, hit that little bell. Maybe share it, won't kill you. So third, the Sabbath rest was provided before it was ever commanded to be enjoyed. Listen, understand. We can certainly make some sort of argument. Well, I'm busy. I have friends that are the busiest people I know. I used to, run businesses, and before I got hurt, and I can tell you, I used to work all the time. Sabbath is more than going to church. Christians boil it down too much. It's about a lot more than that. But we've had the example for a long time. The double force, I look at this and I think, genius. The double portion falls on Friday, ahead of the day that it's needed for, which means God built provision for rest into the schedule before Israel ever had to ask for it or earn it. Fourth, we owe the Jews so much. The jar. God insisted a portion be preserved permanently, specifically so that the people who never once gathered manna with their own hands, they could still hold physical proof of how God provided. Listen, this is why I do my Bibles. The ones that I'm going to give to my family, I have instructions to give them when I pass. I want them to last. I don't want them to fall apart. And MooseWorks Bible is not a sponsor. And you might say, well, you have ads for Melissa and MooseWorks Bible in every single show description and on your website and all this stuff. She doesn't pay for that. It's just worth it. What she does is, it's art. And man, when you spend time with that book, the oil of your hands, your fingers, the tears that fall, people bled and died to give you that book. You say, I want to know God. Read the book. Read the book. And I'm saying that we owe the Jews so much, and we do. But here's the reason why in this particular case, Jews have kept the tradition so that the people that never reached down when they came out of their tent in the morning to gather a day's worth of food, a day's worth of life, the people that came long after them, they never did that. How will they know what God did? Lest we remind them. No, God delivers us, and then we forget very quickly. On to the next emergency. Put together, this chapter says something that runs against nearly every instinct that we have. Listen, all of you don't know this, only a very scant few. I had obsessive compulsive disorder. It's going to be a shock to a lot of you. For a lot of years, and it was bad. And I used to I didn't have to, I was compelled to. I'd leave my office, I'd be on the phone with Miss Colleen, she'd hear the door lock, I'd say, you hearing this door lock now? I'm locking this door. And I lived pretty far from my office. And she'd go, yep. I'd get no more than 20 minutes down the road, and I'd be like, man, I don't know if I locked that door. This is pre-crash, so it wasn't a matter of memory. And she'd say, no, you locked it. No, I'm not sure. I don't know. How could you be sure? Well, you told me. Well, and I'd go back and lock it. I never could have one jar of something I liked in the cupboard. I always had to have 3, 4, 5. I got to see. No delivered me from it. I bet she wishes I'd still had it. Come to cleaning, I used to have the cleanest place ever. She said, man, I wish we could get that back for a minute. Listen, it goes against every instinct that we have. We believe our security comes from what we can stockpile. But it comes from trusting the same God who showed up yesterday. To trust that same God that showed up yesterday to show up tomorrow, one day at a time, without exception. Here's where this gets personal. Because most of us are Israel with the manna instructions, mostly obedient, but keeping a little extra tucked away just in case God doesn't come through tomorrow the way he did today. What if he changes his mind? What if he looks at me and says, are you worth the effort required for me to generate food for you tomorrow? That's what we think. We think he's going to change his mind. Look, that's not a character flaw. It's not a character flaw unique to you. It's the oldest instinct in the wilderness. It's the oldest instinct in the wilderness. Hoarding what you were only ever meant to hold for one day. It comes from a completely understandable place. Fear that today's provision won't repeat itself. But this chapter is honest about what happens to hoarded manna. It doesn't multiply your security. It breeds worms and it starts to stink. The very thing you were trying to protect yourself from, the very thing you were trying to protect yourself with, becomes the thing rotting in your hands. And notice what the test actually required. Not heroic faith, just daily faith. The kind that has to be renewed every single morning instead of banked once and coasted on. If you've been running yourself into the ground trying to secure next month, next year, some future version of stability, well, it never quite arrives. This passage isn't condemning the fear behind that. It's offering you something better than stockpiling ever could, a God, the God, who shows up fresh every morning. Reliable enough. Seems funny to say about God. Reliably enough that you eventually stop needing to check the pantry before you're willing to rest. Centuries later, a crowd that had just eaten bread Yeshua multiplied out of almost nothing followed him across the water, still hungry for another sign. And he pointed them straight back to this chapter. Your fathers ate the manna in the wilderness and they died. He told them, I am the bread of life. He wasn't dismissing. He wasn't dismissing what happened in Exodus 16. He was telling them what it had always been pointing toward. The manna kept people alive one day at a time. But it couldn't keep anyone alive forever. So he came down from heaven, so that anyone who eats this bread will live forever. Not for 40 years in the wilderness, but permanently, eternally, in that jar, kept before the testimony, so future generations could see it. It ends up placed inside the Ark of the Covenant itself, a permanent reminder, sealed alongside the tablets of the law, proof that God provides, even for the generations who never gathered a single omer with their own hands. When Yeshua taught his disciples to pray, give us today our daily bread. He wasn't inventing a new request. He was handing them the same test Israel had been given in this wilderness. Trust for today, not a stockpile for tomorrow. The bread that fell every morning for 40 years. It was never just food. It was a rehearsal, teaching an entire nation to trust God one day at a time. So that when the true bread, when it came from heaven, when he finally came, they would know exactly what he was offering. Listen, Jesus Christ didn't come to give you 40 years of stockpiled security. He came to be enough today and again tomorrow, for as many tomorrows as you need, for as many as you need him. You say, look, I want a concrete way. I want to put a pin in it. What do I do? First, name one specific area where you've been hoarding out of fear instead of trusting God for today's portion. Second, identify what's actually costing you. What is it actually costing you to hold on to that extra? The way old manna bred worms instead of security. Third, practice trusting him for just today, in that one specific area, and watch what happens tomorrow before you try to secure it yourself. I have for you this morning a challenge and a choice. Where have you been trying to stockpile provision, security, or certainty that God only ever offered you one day at a time? What is hoarding actually costing you right now? What is hoarding actually costing you right now that trust could set down? Here's the choice. Keep gathering more than you need out of fear that it won't come again tomorrow, or trust the God who showed up with fresh bread every morning for 40 straight years. And he hasn't stopped since. Father, in the name of Yeshua, your Son, thank you that you provide daily. Not because you're unable to give more, but because daily trust is what you're actually after in us. Thank you for the bread that came down from heaven so we could live forever, not just survive one more wilderness season. For everyone hoarding out of fear today, Father, teach them to trust you one day at a time and to rest on the day you've already provided for. In Yeshua, your matchless Son's name. Amen. Maybe what you actually need today isn't more security. Maybe it's the bread himself, the one who came down from heaven so you never have to go hungry for what actually matters ever again. Pray this with me. Handle it right now. Whatever time you're watching this, wherever you are, handle it right now. Pray this with me and mean it. Yeshua, Jesus, I need you. I believe you died for me and rose from the grave. I surrender my life to you today. Forgive me, fill me, lead me. I'm yours. In your name, Amen. If you just prayed that, welcome to the family. Go to truewordfaithforlife.com/contact if you want, and let us know. We're happy to help you in any questions you have, any help you need. We've done it for countless others. We'll do it for you. It doesn't cost you anything. If this is your first time, like you clicked on this somehow or another, We've been walking through Scripture chronologically since Genesis. Start at day one and walk with it. Walk it with us from the very beginning. Every morning, bread on the ground. Every morning, exactly enough. Not a month's supply, not a year's security, just today. And the God who showed up anyway will be there again. Listen, whatever you're trying to stockpile right now, Yeshua is still the bread that falls fresh, one morning at a time. And if somebody you know is exhausted, they're exhausted from trying to secure tomorrow what they've trusted God for today, send them this episode. Tell them the bread is still falling, one day at a time. I'm going to pray this first in Hebrew. Lashon Elohim, Lashon Adonai, the language of God. And then I'll translate it. Iviraka Adonai virishim raka, Yer Adonai panav elecha v'chunuka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yesem lecha shalom. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Until tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Shalom b'shem Yeshua. Shalom, shalom.